and welcome to the last day of our capacity building seminar on flexible education. I hope that all of you are safe and sound wherever you are right now. I am Dr. Jeffrey Reboron, and I am here to present the emerging trends in education. Our session together is actually our echo of the things that we learned from the seminar entitled Gearing Up for the Next Normal, Training of Teachers on Flexible Education, which was sponsored by the University of the Philippines Open University or UPOU and the Commission on Higher Education last July 2 to August 21, 2021. And since we feel so blessed to be part of that learning opportunity, we also feel the need to give back to ISCC by training our teachers on flexible learning. So before we proceed with the discussion, allow me to present my session objectives. At the end of this virtual meeting, you are expected to find value on the emerging trends in teaching and learning, not just during the pandemic, but for the years to come. You are also expected to become more familiar with the top 10 technological breakthroughs in education worldwide, and although some of it are already evident in our present practice, we will become more familiar or become more in tune with their importance. Aside from that, at the end of the session, you are also expected to reflect about the presented technological breakthrough or what we call EdTechs, so that we can utilize them and integrate them in our own classes and academic units. And lastly, at the end of this session, you will be equipped with the necessary tools and technical know-hows in preparing your own pre-recorded video lectures. Please bear in mind that your video outputs will be required by our QA team before you claim your certificates. Here are my disclaimers during our session. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert on the emerging trends in education, and the topics presented are heavily influenced by my learning and inference from the UPOU seminar workshop on flexible learning, and I claim no ownership of the materials and resources used in this seminar workshop. And lastly, I have no conflict of interest in serving as your speaker in this seminar. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Melinda de la Peña Bandalaria, Professor and Chancellor of the University of the Philippines Open University, who was our resource speaker during our 10th and last module. Her expertise and experience paved the way for me to have a deeper understanding of the topics that I am going to present and share with you regarding the emerging trends in education. So, thank you so much, Dr. Melinda de la Peña Bandalaria, for your expertise and sharing your thoughts regarding the topic. I would like to present our session guidelines so that we can take appropriate steps to address your concerns if any of them arise. So if you have questions, reactions, or comments regarding the discussed topic, please feel free to post them on our chat box, and I will try my very best to answer all of your queries once the presentation is finished. Aside from that, if you want an in-depth discussion about the other emerging trends which were discussed during our UPOU seminar, I am willing to provide you with the handouts, slides, and video links if you feel the need to secure them, but I strongly suggest that you do self-study if you take a hold of these files. And lastly, again as a reminder, your outputs for this meeting will be a pre-recorded video lecture of the topic of your choosing, and it will be used to claim your certificates after our session. Alright, now let's talk about the effects of COVID-19 in our educational system. We have to remember that since time immemorial, even before the pandemic happened or occurred, educational leaders have already dreamt of a technology-enhanced education in the Philippines. However, schools and government agencies just did not have the machination and interest to fund educational technology back in the days. However, due to the COVID-19, it has become a blessing in disguise for all of us because it expedited our transition from the traditional mode of delivery to flexible education. And within months, the COVID-19 has forced universities to embark on digital transformation processes that was envisioned for about 5 to 10 years in the future. What I'm trying to say is that innovations that would have taken us a decade to complete has happened immediately because of the virus. And going back to the university or school after the pandemic will be as if it was already 2030. So it's gonna be like a blast to the future for all of us because we have expedited our integration of technology in our educational system. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we also realized that tradition is the root of weakness and decay, and nothing will happen if we choose not to be flexible and innovative in our delivery of learning to our learners. Well, aside from the COVID-19 pandemic, there are also a lot of reasons why we need to adapt and cope with emerging trends in education. And the first thing that I can think of is the presence of natural disasters in our country. We have to remember that our country is exposed to a lot of tropical storms and other natural calamities each year. And these unfortunate happenstances or events typically disrupt our delivery of learning and they disrupt our classes. Thus, we need to start doing away from this traditional approach or classroom settings in teaching our students to circumvent these disruptions. Aside from that, the COVID-19 pandemic has been very brutal in our economy and budget cuts have been done to prioritize health. Budget cuts for education has been cut and halved, and so using these emerging trends or technologies in education can help curtail these budget cuts by ensuring cost-efficient ways of delivering education. Aside from natural disasters and declining government funds, we also have to consider that our 21st century learners have different needs. They are actually what we call digital natives and that they learn better when they use e-resources through technological platforms. Thus, we have to improve our educational system and adapt emerging trends in education so that we can serve them better. Also, majority of the industries that we have right now, like businesses, healthcare, IT companies, and other agencies have already increased their demand for technologically prepared workforce. And thus, we have to improve our delivery of education to our learners and integrate technology in our educational system so that we are also preparing them and training our students to become technologically prepared and abreast with the changes in the system. And the last reason why we need to transition to a technologically enhanced learning system is the fact that we already have e-resources available, digital tools available right at our fingertips. And now is the time that we take advantage of these technological advancements because it's high time for us to innovate and improve the way we teach our learners. Now, it is important to note that the future of education will always be dictated by emerging trends and technologies. Our traditional classroom education will continue to be enhanced by the latest innovations in science and technology, and we have already come a long way. From using Manila papers to projectors to smart TVs and now even mobile phones, technology can enhance the learning and teaching experience. According to research, 75% of educators in the world believe that textbooks will become obsolete in the year 2026. And there will also come a time wherein the technologies that we are enjoying right now will become obsolete also in the future. So as early as now, we have to start staying abreast with technological advancements so that we will not be called antiquated teachers. Now, I am not saying that we will let technology teach for us. No, that is not the goal of our seminar. Our goal is not technology-enabled education, but technology-enhanced education. We can use machine learning, big data, and Internet of Things to improve the way we teach and educate our learners. As the saying goes, if we fail to prepare, we prepare to fail. As I mentioned earlier, we can use machine learning to improve and enhance the way we deliver education to our learners. When we talk about machine learning, it is actually a method of data analysis that automates analytical model building. And what does this mean? When we talk about machine learning, it is a technological breakthrough that is capable of becoming more and more intelligent because the computer system learns from the data inputs that we provide. Meaning, the more information the computer receives, the more intelligent it gets. And actually, when we talk about machine learning, it is a branch of artificial intelligence that can identify patterns and make decisions for us with minimal human interaction. And we have been using machine learning more than we care to realize. There are machines or programs that can do automatic checking of our quizzes or do item analysis for our examinations or even compute grades, check the students' grammars, and even do plagiarism scans. The possibilities are endless when it comes to machine learning because the more we use these programs, the more intelligent and efficient they are. And who knows, soon there will also become an inventor who will be able to create a machine that can check essays for its context. The possibilities are endless when it comes to machine learning. Aside from that, we should use technology in our delivery of education because we already have what we call big data. And when we talk about big data, this is a term that describes the large volume of data or information available in the internet. And we can use these massive data to improve our knowledge on certain disciplines. When we talk about big data, there are actually three aspects of it. Number one is volume of data, velocity of data, and variety of data. And we talk about volume of data. It means that there is a plethora of information that we have right at the tip of our fingertips. If you still remember when you were having your research studies or theses, it was very difficult for us to find related literature on the internet. But as time went on, we were able to accumulate a large sum of research studies, which is now actually making up the heft of the data that we have on the internet. So we have a lot of voluminous data available right at our fingertips. Aside from that, when we speak about velocity of data, it means that there is a fast transfer of data from one computer to another. If you need a certain file from a person, then data transfer has already become very easy because of the presence of big data. And lastly, there is a variety of data or information that we have on the internet. If we are looking for pictures, we have millions or even billions of them available. If we want PNG files, videos, audios, we can search for the internet and come up with massive amounts of information that are actually what we are looking for. So we have to take advantage of big data to improve our educational system. And we should not just rely on textbooks when we are teaching our students because, again, like I said, we already have big data right at our fingertips. Well, aside from machine learning and big data, we also have to take advantage of the Internet of Things. And when we talk about the Internet of Things or the IoT, we refer to a system of interrelated and interconnected objects that are able to collect and transfer data over a wireless network even without human interaction. All of the smart TVs that we have, laptops, smart speakers, and other gadgets that can be connected on the World Wide Web can be optimized as tools for learning. And we have to use this technology to check the pattern of surfing behaviors of our students or to give them the modules that they need or even augment their learning by sending them videos or podcasts because these things are already smart and they can be connected on the internet. And we can use these tools or smart objects to improve our learners' experience and make it more fun and exciting. Well, adapting modern-day technologies in flexible learning is not only crucial for our safety during the pandemic. We have to remember that educational technologies are also vital for our educational institution if we really want it to survive and thrive. Because of educational technologies, teaching becomes very exciting. Educational technologies make the teaching experience much more immersive and innovative. Mas nakakagana po ang magturo because of educational technologies. Teachers like us can use a plethora of digital tools and new strategies in delivering our lessons. With educational technologies, we are no longer tied to doing chalk and board discussions or classes, and our definition of teaching will slowly change over time. Well, aside from that, educational technologies can also enhance collaboration between and among our learners and teachers. Because of emerging technologies, our students and learners can work with one another even if they are remotely apart from each other. Even if distance separates them, they can still work with each other and work together on a single project. Google Forms, cloud sharing, or virtual meetings and other applications and internet programs have paved the way for this collaboration to happen. And lastly, educational technologies can also make education become more personalized and suited for the needs of our individual learners. We have to remember that we have different types of learners, and some of them are visual learners, some of them are auditory learners, and some of them are kinesthetic learners. If we stick to the traditional approach to teaching our students, we cater to limited number of individuals or students because basically we are just catering to the auditory learners. But if we use educational technology in our delivery of education, we cater to all our students, and our educational system becomes more inclusive because we allow our students to find the method of learning that is most suited for them. So those are the importance of integrating and incorporating educational technology in our school system. In our UPOU seminar, our resource speaker presented 20 emerging trends in education. However, in the interest of time and considering our resources, I will only be introducing and discussing the top 10 educational trends that have the highest visibility of being implemented in our own institution. We have to bear in mind that some of these trends are not entirely new to us because we have been doing this since before the pandemic, but other countries around the world have just started adopting some of these trends in their own educational system. And so I will be presenting the different merits and advantages of these educational trends so that we can all fully reflect on which educational technologies to integrate or adapt in our own classes and academic units. Now, the first educational trend that we will be discussing is the talk of the town, which is flexible learning. Well, actually, there's no way for universities and schools to go back to the same teaching and learning setup prior to the pandemic. Gaya nga ng sabi nila, wala nang babalik sa dati because this is the new normal and flexible learning is the only way to go. Both teachers and students will demand for flexibility that they have experienced during the pandemic era due to various reasons or circumstances. Some of our students will say, ayoko nang bumalik sa classroom kasi okay sa akin ang remote learning because some of them can go on vacations. Even if they have classes, they can attend their classes online even if they have something else to do. And actually, some of the learners enjoy self-paced education wherein some of them are not morning persons, so they do their classworks at night. So self-paced learning po ang uso ngayon. And flexible learning is the reason why all of this have become possible. Aside from that, because of flexible learning, we have seen more personalized learning for our students. And our students right now have the ability to choose the best method that can address their own individual needs in learning. So our students can pick or choose between the many options that we give them. Example, if they can go for modular, synchronous, or asynchronous sessions, or they can even use YouTube videos or listen to podcasts, the possibilities are endless. And because of that, it promotes inclusivity, and we are empowering all of our students, regardless of the type of learners they are, to become more successful in their academic life. The next educational trend is electronic learning or e-learning. This type of educational delivery makes use of electronic devices and of course the internet. And how do we deliver e-learning? The mode of delivery for e-learning is through the use of smart things like mobile phones, laptops, tablets, smart TVs, and other devices or Internet of Things that can be connected on the internet. And with e-learning and smart things, we can also use learning management systems or programs like Edmodo, Google Classroom, Moodle, or Facebook Education, and other LMS. So we use these two in consonance. We have to remember that e-learning promotes active learning because it is multimodal and practical. Our students, when they are connected on the internet and when they have their smart things at their disposal, they can learn whenever or wherever they want, even if they are on the beach. As long as they have internet connection and as long as they have their smart things with them, they can still join our classes and perform the activities or requirements that are expected of them. Aside from that, I said a while ago that e-learning is multimodal and practical. Why? Because the students are not confined in listening to the teacher. They can watch videos, listen to podcasts, watch documentaries to solve problems on the internet, and even network with other learners from around the globe. So the possibilities are endless because there is a variety of ways to learn and teach our students using e-learning. We have what we call synchronous sessions and asynchronous sessions. So e-learning is also very important trend when it comes to education. The next educational trend that we are going to discuss is about video-assisted learning. Actually, there is a copious amount of research studies that say that video-assisted learning is effective in improving the learner's outcomes. Why? Because educational videos tickle the senses. It tickles the imagination of our learners, and it also improves critical thinking skills of our students, especially if these educational videos are paired with reflection activities. Before, I know for a fact that you also enjoyed a day inside the AVR when you were still in your elementary and high school days, and we call that the video day. But for video-assisted learning, it's video day every day. Before, we have to go and queue up in the AVR to watch movies about history, life of Jesus, mythology, literary works, or even watch Hiraya Manawari, Once Upon a Time, Mathnic, and even Apple. We only had a limited number of educational videos approved for public consumption when we were still young. However, because of the advent of technology, we already have video streaming platforms like YouTube and Vimeo, which makes educational videos more available for us. We have to remember that video-assisted learning enriches the learning experience for our students because it caters to all types of learners, and when we let our students watch these videos, it will involve many of their senses. Now, aside from that, video-assisted learning can also become beneficial for teachers because it reduces the teachers' workloads, especially for the teachers who are teaching the same lesson for multiple classes. It eliminates also the need for the teachers to bring equipments and materials for demonstration and learning because she can already just download videos and show those videos to the students without having to need to bring these equipments inside the classroom. So those are the advantages of video-assisted learning. The next educational trend that is gaining popularity right now is what we call digital credentialing or micro-credentialing. Some universities and colleges around the globe are transitioning to paperless credentials. Our students' OTRs, diplomas, and other pertinent records are encrypted and are given to our students as soft copies. Now, why is it beneficial? It facilitates validation and verification, and also it helps us to decrease fraud, the incidence of fraud, because we can easily validate the authenticity of our students' documents through the internet. When we talk about micro-credentialing, It is also known as nano degree or micro credential, and they tend to be the narrower version of qualifications like diplomas and degrees. Some schools around the world are already beginning to offer mini qualifications that demonstrate the skills, knowledge, and expertise of these learners in a given capacity or subject area. We have to remember that traditionally, the main product of our universities and schools are 4-year degree graduates. Meaning, no graduation means that our students are less likely to get a decent job. However, when we unbundle these degrees in our micro-credentialing, we are able to let our students have qualifications and certificates of competence that make them more employable in the eyes of the employers. And to simply put, or to wrap it up, when we talk about micro-credentialing, it is actually relevant to what we call the tech-voc programs or technical vocational programs and ladderized degrees that we have already implemented in our school. Why is tech-voc and ladderized programs important? This unbundling of degrees help us supply the workforce needs or requirements that we have in our country right now. Each academic year, our students gain competence and certification so that they can assume different roles that are needed in the industry. So again, even though it is not new to us in the Philippines, digital and micro-credentialing is actually gaining ground internationally right now. So, very significant ang tech-voc programs and ladderized degrees because it makes our student more job-ready even if they do not graduate with a 4-year degree course. The fifth educational trend that we have to talk about, is mental health. Actually, there is a growing concern on our students' mental health during the pandemic because as human beings, we require social interaction to grow and develop. According to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, love and belongingness and safety and security are part of our human needs. But because of the pandemic, we feel caged and we feel separated from our friends and some of our families. And even if we go out with friends and even if we go out with our family members, hugs and handshakes and even sitting close to each other is not already allowed because of the IATF protocol. So that means there is less social interaction for all of us, especially our students because of the pandemic. And aside from that, the presence of granular lockdowns, news of a relative dying, Facebook updates of candles and black profile pictures signifying death of a friend of a friend or a family member of a friend make us fear for our own safety and security and even health. Sometimes when we hear a person cough, we automatically get scared. We are too focused on the impending doom of ourselves, of our family members because of the pandemic. And sometimes, our students can't help but ask themselves, sino ba ang next? Sila na ba ang next na mamamatay or magiging part of statistics? And because of that, our students are placed in a tremendous amount of stress and burnout. And taking into consideration that they are also given requirements and even deadlines to beat, and these things compound the issue on mental health. And because of that, some schools are implementing measures such as online kamustahan. In our health science department, our good health science department head, Sir Limuel Dolorico, has decided that we will do online kamustahan once every week for our students to help us assess the mental health conditions of our students. Aside from that, in the University of Northern Philippines, we are also given mental health breaks wherein there is a week for us students wherein we will not be doing any school requirements and our teachers are not even allowed to meet us in any way, shape, or form. No online meetings, no text, no Facebook messages. mental health breaks are actually the trend right now because, like I said, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us are placed in copious amounts of stress, and therefore, as a trend in the educational system, we are also responsible for taking care of the mental health of our students. The sixth educational trend is actually artificial intelligence, and I have already mentioned it during our introduction of the topic that I will be presenting. And although we sometimes fail to recognize, but we have already been using artificial intelligence more frequently than we care to realize. And there are some artificial intelligence tools that we have already been using and that are already at our disposal, which are capable of performing basic activities for us. Like, for example, checking exams, correcting grammars, checking for plagiarisms or unoriginal essays, and even computing our students' grades. Meaning, because of artificial intelligence, there is an automation of basic activities in education. However, there are other schools internationally that already use AI tutors to provide feedback on the students' outputs without requiring the need for the teachers' inputs. Now, I will give you an example. There is what we call an AI for painting students or students who are under arts, okay, doing arts or painting classes. When the students take a photo or upload a photo of the painting that they created, the computer will scan the image and artificial intelligence will dictate or will tell the students, provide the students feedback on how to improve that art. For example, increase the saturation of the colors or increase the contrast between the light and dark hues, other things like that. That is also usable for students who are doing photography classes because there are already programs that automatically tell you what to do to improve your craft. Some schools are also using voice assistants to augment the learning experience. I know for a fact that you are familiar with Siri or even Alexa or even Google Assistant. These programs automatically sometimes call parents and even report the students' performances because these voice assistants are capable of artificial intelligence. So meaning, even without you having to program them or input some commands for these voice assistants, they are going to perform certain jobs or procedures. Sometimes we use voice assistants for online proctors, and that there are also programs that detect mouse activity. So meaning, even if we are not there proctoring the exams of our students, we know for sure that they are the ones taking the exam because we have artificial intelligence who are serving as our online proctors. And aside from that, artificial intelligence can also use as a means of mental health rescue for our students. If I'm not mistaken, you are familiar with the program, phone application called SimSimi. That SimSimi is actually operated by artificial intelligence, and some schools are actually adopting artificial intelligence to determine the mental health status of their students. Now, how does this happen? A student will use a program or application, and then that student will text or chat with that artificial intelligence. And because of machine learning, that program, even without a person manning or operating it, will know what to tell or what to reply to that student. So, meaning, we can use artificial intelligence to help our students regain their sense of mental stability. But like I said, we are not the only ones who are familiar with artificial intelligence. So we have to watch out for students who are using artificial intelligence to their advantage. Actually, I came across a TikTok video exposing that there are actually context bots that they say that are capable of summarizing or synthesizing hefty articles into concise paragraphs. And if we are not careful of the use of artificial intelligence, and if our students actually know how to use artificial intelligence, if we give them essays or if we give them synthesis papers, they might use artificial intelligence to get higher grades because, like I said, there are already context bots that are capable of summarizing and synthesizing reports for them. So again, we have to be careful of artificial intelligence. But if used wisely, artificial intelligence can work wonders in our educational system. The next educational trend is the use of MOOCs, or short for Massive Open Online Courses. And MOOCs are also one of the best emerging trends in education right now. And I, for one, have experienced this emerging trend in our UPOU seminar on flexible learning. Now, why is it called MOOC? Because again, it is short for Massive Open Online Course. And MOOCs actually provide learning experiences that enhance the competence of students and professionals alike. Now, when we talk about MOOCs, they are actually offered by Ivy League universities like Harvard or UP, and these schools have opened their doors for other learners to improve their crafts, all in the safety and comforts of their own homes. These MOOCs are actually free. No need to travel to attend or participate in this seminar or training. And at the end of that training, the participants are provided with certification. And this certification can actually be used for promotion. Again, why are they called MOOCs? Because they are massive. Because enrollments are usually unlimited and can run into hundreds of thousands. When we started with our UPOU seminar, I think there were 15,000 students who attended that single seminar. And that was not possible prior to the pandemic, because for Ivy League universities and big schools to conduct seminars like that, they often have limited slots. But because of MOOCs, they can cater to hundreds of thousands of participants in one seminar alone. Aside from that, MOOCs are open because anyone can enroll. That is, if they can pass the admission, or if they can complete the documentary requirements that are needed for the school entrance. Aside from that, it is online and it is mostly delivered via the internet. And for our UPOU seminar, we usually used the Moodle as our learning management system. And it is a course because their goal, these Ivy League universities and big schools, their goal is to teach a specific subject with specific learning objectives and specific learning outcomes. So it is one of the best educational trends that we have right now, MOOCs, because I'm so proud to say that I'm a graduate of one of the MOOCs of the University of the Philippines, and soon, who knows, we will be graduates of Harvard or Yale University, Princeton University. So the possibilities are endless because of these educational trends. The next educational trend that we will be discussing is for the gamers out there. It's called the gamification of education. And when we speak of gamification of education, it actually motivates the students to learn by using video game designs and game elements in the learning environment. The actual goal of gamification is to maximize the enjoyment and engagement of our learners by capturing their interest and inspiring them to continue learning. Now, why is gamification important and gaining ground right now? Gamification actually improves fun and engagement of our learners. A quote that I usually use in my pedia class is that play is the universal language of a child, and it is necessary for cognitive, psychomotor, and affective growth and development. Now, we have to remember that gamification and integrating play in our teaching also promotes active learning. How? Students can transact with the lesson where learning is seen not as a chore but as a result of a fun experience when we are gamifying our lessons. Actually, I can argue with people who say that ML, League of Legends, and other games are just for naught. Because I am also a gamer, and I know for a fact that playing mobile games like Mobile Legends, League of Legends, Candy Crush, and other things like that can really help us learn. I know for a fact that playing ML is vilified and seen as an evil act for most of the parents and teachers out there. But let me get this straight. When our students are allowed to play ML, they are able to develop necessary skills like, for example, decision making or critical thinking skills and mathematical skills if we allow them to play. Now, what I'm saying is we do not have to vilify and demify these kinds of activities because, like I said, play is integral in the growth and development of these individuals. And if play alone is able to improve the character, the cognition, the affective and psychomotor domains of our students, what more if we integrate gamification in our own learning curriculum? So we have to remember that our 21st century learners are natural gamers. They are innately exposed to games and plays because of the presence of tablets and mobile phone applications. They crave excitement and activity, especially when they are learning. So gamification addresses that need. And also, when we gamify or we integrate play in our teaching, it creates a positive learning environment for our students. It promotes development of abstract concepts, values, and characters like, for example, teamwork, camaraderie, decision-making, critical thinking, and sense of foresight. So again, gamification is very vital to improve the engagement of our students and to promote active learning. Right? So we have to consider gamifying our lessons right now. Another futuristic trend in education right now is the use of immersive learning using VR and AR. Now, what do we mean when we say virtual reality or augmented reality? When we speak of virtual reality, this is actually a reality that is constructed digitally. The learner is transported to another dimension or setting using virtual glasses and headphones. So we are creating an environment for them that is immersive in nature. Now, virtual reality is actually beneficial, especially for medical training courses or training for police officers and firemen, because virtual reality actually mimics or replicates or simulates high stress or high danger environments. So in the nursing or midwifery programs, we can use virtual reality to mimic or simulate delivery room setups or, for example, rescue operations. So virtual reality provides that immersive experience without having to expose our students to dangers or risks. Aside from that, we also have what we call augmented reality. And when we speak of augmented reality, this is actually an enhanced view of a real image. Actually, augmented reality is a thing right now in the 2021 smartphone arenas because most phones right now have what we call the time of flight sensors on their cameras. iPads, iPhones, and other flagship devices from Samsung right now have time of flight sensors. And how is this useful in the educational system? This is useful for design majors, architects, engineers, chefs, and fashion designers because using their cameras, they are able to design or plan or integrate the things that they are thinking of using that augmented reality. So when they take a photo of, for example, a room, they can immediately just place couches or other interior design elements in that augmented reality. So again, if we can consider integrating virtual reality and augmented reality in our simulation classes or our demonstrations, then it's gonna be awesome for our students. Trend in education right now is perhaps the most visible emerging trend that we can use in our school, which is what we call mobile learning. In the health science department, our good department head again and the rest of the faculty members have decided that we will be implementing mobile learning along with blended learning for the next semester. Why? Because we have to remember that all of us have smartphones. All of our students already have smartphones, and even their parents have their own smartphones. And phones are becoming smarter and more affordable due to breakthrough in the tech industry. And we have also to remember that most of our learners are addicted to their mobile phones, which gives us a niche to use their addiction to their devices as another way to deliver our lessons. Most of the applications that we will be using for the students' learning or e-learning experience are readily available in the App Store, meaning there is a plethora of learning applications that are free to be downloaded online. Programs like Edmodo, Google Classroom, Google Meet, and YouTube are not exclusive in desktop computers and laptop computers anymore, because these are available in mobile devices. Meaning, there is no need for bulky setups for computers on the side of the teacher or the students alone. So because of mobile learning, we are able to connect with our students even without the need to use the computer. Even with just our mobile phones, we can deliver education right on our students' mobile phones. And aside from that, we have decided to use mobile learning in the health science department because we believe that mobile learning is able to enhance and augment learning. It makes learning easier to swallow for the students because the teachers like me conducting our classes, it is a familiar environment for them when we use their mobile phones as a means of delivering education. We have to remember that the use of mobile phone is a familiar territory for our learners, and this is already part of their everyday lives, like Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. So when we use or optimize these mobile applications to deliver learning to our students, then it's gonna be a walk in the park teaching them. Last trend that I will be discussing is social media learning. And this last trend is actually in consonance with mobile learning. And like I said, we humans are social animals, and we thrive better when we are interacting with our fellow human beings. We learn from our interactions and experiences with other people. Now, we have to remember that more and more schools are using social media to deliver their lesson and connect with their students because it is one of the fastest, the cheapest, and the safest way to check on our students. We can also use social media platforms to verify the excuses of our students. So it is a safe way to connect with our students. Social media learning is also an educational trend that is very viable right now in our locale because almost all of us are familiar with social media. At adupay ti social media accounts dagito estudyante tayo ngem tayo. And social media platforms are not data hungry. Thus, students with poor internet connection can still be part of the class even if they have intermittent internet. The interface of social media is actually very user-friendly compared to other learning management systems. So, social media platforms can also be used right now for education and learning. Now, why do we want to integrate social media in our educational system? We have to remember that social media promotes collaboration. Students can go to their own breakout sessions after our synchronous classes. They can create their own group chats. They can even share their files or documents online. So the possibilities again are endless. And most social media platforms already come with their own video conferencing functionality. Take for example, Facebook Messenger. It already has its video conferencing functions. So it's great for small group meetings or brainstorming. And we can also use social media platforms in consonance with Zoom or Google Meet. So we have to remember that social media platforms usually have limited number of participants. So after our breakout session with our students, we can allow them to go use their social media accounts to collaborate with their classmates. And lastly, I know that this is new for most of you, that Facebook has already released its newest program or addition to their offerings, which is called Facebook for Education. And actually, Facebook is gearing towards integrating educational media or educational functionalities in their social media account, Facebook account. So we have different YouTube videos that are available online that gives us a tutorial on how to use Facebook for our educational purposes. Part of the emerging trend in education is video-assisted learning. And an offshoot of this trend is the use of pre-recorded video lectures. And as promised earlier, I will also be teaching you how to pre-record your lectures in the second part of our session together. For the second part of our session, these are our objectives. At the end of this video, you will know and understand the advantages and disadvantages of pre-recording video lectures in the conduct of asynchronous sessions. Aside from that, you will know and identify the necessary tools and skills to pre-record your video lectures, and at the same time, create and circulate your own pre-recorded video lectures for your own classes. Now, what are pre-recorded lectures? Pre-recorded lectures are methods of delivery that have already been used by universities and colleges in the Western countries since the start of the internet era. We have to remember that most of our students and learners belong to the Generation Z and are millennials, and these are digital natives which were born in the digital era, and therefore they are more comfortable in the use of technology to augment their learning. But in a nutshell, what does pre-recorded lectures really mean? PRL is where the instructor records a lecture outside of class and then shares it with them in a digital format such as MP4 that can be accessed remotely by the students anywhere. So in a nutshell, that is what we mean when we say pre-recorded lectures. During the early months of the pandemic, we have already adopted the pre-recorded lecture in the health science department. What we do in our department is that we upload our pre-recorded videos in our YouTube channel, and what you're seeing right now that is flashed on your screen is a screenshot of all pre-recorded lectures that we have prepared over the months. Through the leadership of our principal, Sir Limuel Dolorico, and through the hard work and dedication of some of our faculty members, we have already uploaded 30 YouTube videos since the start of the pandemic and counting. And instead of worrying about meeting our classes on a set date or a set time, we now have more time to monitor the quality of learning of our students. That is stress-free and less hassle for us when it comes to teaching. Aside from the fact that we can also reuse these videos in the coming semesters, our students who are preparing to take the board exams are also able to review using our pre-recorded lectures uploaded online. So, we have this dream of someday monetizing our department YouTube channel. So that means that pre-recording our video lecture is another opportunity to generate funds for the needs of our school. So more views, more cash. So those are the advantages of pre-recorded lectures that I can think of. As mentioned earlier, experts say that there are also other benefits of using pre-recorded video lecture. Number one on the list is no more multitasking for teachers when you pre-record your video lectures. Why? I can share this from experience because when you are conducting or hosting a Google Meet class, it is very tedious and it's very stressful. Why? Because while you are delivering your lecture, you are also accepting students who are still coming into your class. You also have to check if your students can view the slides properly or if they can hear you properly. Those problems that occur during your video lecture can take a toll on your mental health as a teacher, and you might consider synchronous sessions to be very stressful. Now, if you pre-record your lectures, those problems are automatically eliminated because from the get-go, while you are still recording your videos, you are able to curtail those problems already before you upload these videos online. So, meaning, no more multitasking for us during synchronous sessions. Aside from that, another advantage of using pre-recorded lectures is that it is unaffected by intermittent internet connections. What do we mean? When a teacher hosts a synchronous class, a Google Meet, she has to have a strong internet connection. And what happens is that if a teacher is not connected to a strong internet connection, the students may experience lag. Makakarinig yung mga students natin ng mga robotic sounds. Naririnig nyo ba ako? Yun yung mga laging tinatanong ng teacher. And because of the poor internet connection or poor bandwidth, what happens is that our lectures get interrupted, meaning the quality of learning that our students acquire from that session gets compromised. But if you pre-record your videos and you just upload it online, your students can have an interrupted learning experience watching the videos you prepared for them prior to the session. So again, that's an advantage of pre-recorded lectures. Aside from that, this is also accessible to students with limited access to the internet. Why? Because pre-recorded video lectures usually come in MP4 format or WMA files, and they can be circulated not just using the internet but also through USB, Bluetooth, and other CDs. So we can circulate these pre-recorded video lectures even if our students have no connection to the internet. And the fourth advantage of pre-recorded lecture is that it fosters asynchronous learning in our students. Why? Because when we pre-record our lectures and they are uploaded in video streaming channels like for example YouTube or Vimeo, our students who are working students or students who do not have their own personal computers or students who have slow internet connection or the ones who are just borrowing mobile phones or laptops from their cousins can still participate or view your videos self-paced at their own convenience. So it fosters synchronous learning of the students because the students can watch your videos at their place and time of convenience. This is opposed to conducting synchronous classes wherein if a student is not available during this time, during this date, or if a student has poor connection during this time or during this date, the student already did not learn from your session. But if you pre-record your lectures, the students can learn whenever, wherever. And the last advantage of pre-recorded lecture is that it promotes inclusivity of education. Why? Because in pre-recorded lectures, we are not just catering to students with fast internet connection. We are also catering to students who are disenfranchised or who are living in poverty because even with poor internet connection, they are still able to listen to your discussions if you pre-record them. Now, there are a couple of disadvantages when we pre-record our lectures. Number one is that learning is dependent on the video itself. We have to remember that if you do not have the proper tools to create quality content or if you do not put in the time or effort to create your slides and rehearse your recordings, your learners will not benefit from this learning setup. Also, you have to remember that pre-recorded lectures are meant to augment the other learning modes of delivery. In our case, we just use pre-recorded video lectures as accompanying material for our modules. So you have to remember that the learning of the student is dependent on the quality of a video or lecture that you create in your PRL. Aside from that, lecture videos can be nerve-wracking to make and create. Hindi lahat po tayo ay technically capable of doing these projects. Especially if you're not used to recording yourself or listening to your own voice, it may be challenging. Creation of quality materials require an organized approach to ensure that there are no periods of wasted time and waiting in the video. So it may be intimidating and tedious for some, especially if you are not used to seeing or listening to yourself talk. Well, another disadvantage of a pre-recorded lecture is that it is bawal sa tamad. Compared to the use of modules, creating a pre-recorded video lecture entails additional work for the teacher, like summarizing your topics, making them more brief and concise, preparing your slides, making a script, rehearsing your timing, and redoing your recording if you make a mistake. And then you will also have to render it, then upload it to the learning platform. So hindi ito para sa tamad because there is a lot of work that comes with pre-recording your video lecture. Aside from that, pre-recording your lectures can also take hours to render, or it can also use memory, lots of memory in your laptop. It takes a lot of time and effort to render a pre-recorded video, especially if the equipment that you are using is not that powerful. Also, pre-recorded videos may consume a lot of your laptop or your computer's memory. So it has the potential of slowing the performance of your laptops if the files are not properly managed. So that is again another disadvantage of pre-recording your lectures. And the last disadvantage of pre-recording your lecture is that the trade secrets are shared. If you have special knowledge or skills that you only want to impart to your students, tendency is that other people may have access to your videos that you created just for them. This means that other students from rival schools can have access to your lessons. So it is vital that you also monitor the privacy setting of your videos before you upload them so that the trade secrets that are in ISCC will not go out or will not be used by other people outside of our school. Now, let's talk about the things that you are going to need when you pre-record your videos or lectures. For starters, you need to have a recording device. You can use your laptop or cell phone as long as it has screen recording functions. Aside from that, you will also need a headset with a built-in mic, but the audio quality will be better if you have an external microphone. But feel free to use whatever is available to you. And the last equipment that you will be needing is a Microsoft Office application. Depending on the version of your MS PowerPoint, you will only be able to record your audio for older versions. But for those of you who have an updated version of the Microsoft PowerPoint, you will be given access to record your video using the device's camera. If ever you decide to pre-record your lectures, you will also need to prepare your slides beforehand. You have to make sure that your slides are interesting and aesthetically pleasing. Do not overload your slides with words. You just have to select the most salient word or an interesting picture to present on your slide. Which will bring us to the next item that we will also need when we pre-record your lecture, which is a script or an outline of our discussion. We need to have this for our videos to be more cohesive, to be more organized, and become professional looking and sounding. Always remember that there is a possibility that people might gain access to your pre-recorded videos. So it's imperative that you have to put your best face forward. Also, having an outline will help you stay within the context of your presentation, and having a script on hand will make your discussions, your examples, more structured and organized. Aside from the script and aside from your slide, you will also need a quiet place to record your videos. You have to avoid using electric fans during your video sessions because the air draft that gets blown into the microphone will also alter the quality of your audio recording. A pro tip that I can give you is you can record at night. You have to record your videos at night when the dogs are quiet, when there are no vehicles passing by in front of your house. That's the best time that you record your video. So right now, I'm recording at 2:30 a.m. And for me, that's already Gucci. That's already good. The last thing that you will need to pre-record your video is a buttload of patience. If you really want to create a pre-recorded video lecture, you have to be very patient to yourself. As you may have realized by now, this task is very time-consuming and tedious. You're going to be frustrated by the amount of learning curves and bumps that you will encounter along the way, especially on your first 3 attempts. But I know that you will learn and become better through practice and experience. As they say, nothing ever worth it comes easy. So you just have to practice, and then the learning curve will eventually go away after you practice your pre-recorded lecture skills. Once you have already prepared all the equipment needed for pre-recording, you have to load your prepared slide using the Microsoft PowerPoint. And then you also have to print your prepared talking points or your script so that your discussions will be organized and structured. And then, once that those are already ready, you have to click record screen or screen recording in your smartphones. And then deliver your lecture. And then hit stop recording. And then locate the video and then upload it on the site of your choosing, be it YouTube, Edmodo, or Facebook. If you are using Apple or if you are an iPhone user, the red button there that you are seeing is actually the screen recording button. But if you are using an Android phone, you can see right here that there is a screen recording option like this. This is for Samsung, but the icon may change for other models of phones. But if your cell phone does not come natively with the screen recording feature, you can also download from the App Store these recording softwares for your mobile phone. So that's simple. That is how easy it is to pre-record your lectures using your mobile phones. However, if you want to use your laptop for your pre-recorded lectures, the steps are pretty much the same. Number one is that you have to load your Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint at the same time. No need to print your scripts or your talking points. And then, aside from that, you also have to attach all your talking points from Microsoft Word into all the slides, corresponding slides into your Microsoft PowerPoint. I will show you this later on. And then next is prepare yourself for recording. So you have to attach your headsets and your microphones on your device. And then click recording and then deliver your lecture and then render the video. That's how easy it is to pre-record your lectures. Now, if you go to slideshow in your Microsoft PowerPoint, you will see there the record slideshow option. You click that and then press the red button and you will be prompted for a recording session. If once you're done, you just click stop and then go to export and then click MP4 so that the video will be rendered using that video file. Now, tuturuan ko po kayo kung paano mag-pre-record ng inyong mga lectures using the Microsoft PowerPoint application. So, kunwari, ito po yung slide natin na first na slide natin sa mga lectures na gagawin natin. After loading your PowerPoint presentation, you have to attach all your scripts or talking points here at the bottom of the slide, dito po sa my notes part. And then, gagawin nyo po ito lahat sa inyong mga slides from start to finish para po tuloy-tuloy yung ating recording once you hit the record button. So, pag na-attach nyo na lahat ng mga script sa inyong mga slides, pupunta po kayo sa pinakaunang slide na inyong gagamitin for recording. So, kunwari, ito yung gagamitin natin, demo recording. So, pupunta tayo dito sa slideshow. Dito sa may toolbar, we will go to the slideshow and then click natin yung record slideshow. So, may magpapakita po dito na may arrow beside the record slideshow. Click natin yon and then record slideshow. So, lalabas na po dito yung interface ng recording natin for Microsoft PowerPoint. Again, if you have newer laptops, the video will appear here on the lower part of the slide. But if you have older laptops, you will still be allowed to record, but you will only be recording your audio. So, pag happy na po tayo sa setup natin, kunwari nandito na yung ating script, nandito yung susunod na slide, and this is the active slide. Kung okay na po tayo sa setup, okay na po yung angulo natin, maganda-ganda na po yung ating itsura, the next thing that we're going to do is click the record button. So, dito po siya sa red. I-click niya lang po yan, mapaprompt ka po, 3, 2, 1, and action. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat and welcome to another pre-recorded video lecture for the subject M105 Comprehensive Family Planning. I am Dr. Jeffrey Reboron, your instructor. So, parang PowerPoint slide pa rin po siya. If you click here, lalabas pa rin po yung mga effects na nilagay niyo sa inyong mga slides. Alright? So, kunwari, you're already happy with your recording. Paano po natin siya i-export? So, you just stop the recording and then exit and then pwede nyo na po siyang render. So, pupunta tayo sa file and then export and then i-click natin dito kung ano yung magiging file name ng ating pre-recorded lecture and then kung saan siya magsisave. So, kunwari lalagay ko siya sa desktop and then kung anong format. So, very critical po na i-change nyo yung format para ma-access pa rin ng mga students. You have to click MP4. Alright? Kasi yan po yung video format na mapaplay using their mobile phones. So, kunwari, you're already happy with the size. Usually, hindi ko na po ginagalaw ito. And then, you just click export. Now, ang kinaganda po kasi ng ating pre-recorded lecture is that you can check kung okay ba yung performance mo bago mo siya i-render. So, kunwari, ito yung demo recording natin. Nag-record po tayo kanina. We can play using this. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat and welcome to another pre-recorded video lecture for the subject M105 Comprehensive Family Planning. So, tingnan nyo, meron akong stutter doon. So, kunwari, hindi ko siya gusto, pwede ko siyang i-delete lang. Okay? Now, kung ano yung i-delete nyo po dito sa slide na ito, the other recordings that you did in the separate slides will not be affected. So, kunwari, dito ka lang sa first part hindi masaya, pwede mo siyang i-delete at mag-record ka ulit. Pero tignan nyo yung recording natin sa susunod na slide is nandoon pa rin po. So that is the beauty of using pre-recorded lectures. So kunwari, hindi mo nagustuhan yung discussion mo sa slide na yan, pwede mo lang siyang ibahin sa mismong slide na yon and you will not have to record everything again because of that single mistake. So, yun po yung steps ng ating pag-pre-record ng ating mga lecture videos. So, maraming salamat for listening. Sana po ay meron kayong natutunan sa aking video presentation. If you want a more detailed explanation of how to pre-record your video lecture, you can check out our official YouTube channel, Ilocos Sur Community College Health Science Department. Meron din po kami doong video on how to pre-record your lectures or sa case naman doon, how to pre-record your presentation para sa aming mga estudyante. Now, before I end my talk, allow me to leave you with the transcendental question. Is the leaf's only purpose to fall? Are we born into this world to just eat, sleep, go to work, and then eventually die? Or are we here to make a difference in other people's lives? With that being said, again, maraming salamat po for listening. Continue serving your purpose as the 21st century educators and stay safe and enjoy the rest of the day.